It's not even controversial anymore.
People know in Florida their freedoms are going to be respected.
Wowza, Blondie over here. You just want to be like me. I went blonder, so you have to one-up me. That's bleach blonde.
Yes, it's very, like, cool blonde, but, you know, I like it.
Well, I guess I'll have to dye my hair again. Next time you see me, it'll be white. All right, let's talk about AI. Getting a lot of attention to here. We just had a socialist who went on rants about AI because it's meant to displace human labor or whatever it is. But Governor DeSantis, sorry, put some respect on his name, is concerned about AI, I think, for broader reasons. That I think everybody's concerned about AI and the bad ways that it can be used, right? So DeSantis is trying to take proactive steps to protect people.
Yeah, so he has proposed a Citizen Bill of Rights for AI, which covers a very broad spectrum of issues that may potentially be a problem or are already a problem. He had a press conference about it this morning.
Is the same insight the founding fathers had when they founded the United States of America. Human nature is flawed. And so when they were creating a government, they had to articulate the core principles that our rights come from God, not from the government, that the purpose of government is to protect those pre-existing rights, that we have a rule of law, not the whim of individuals. But the reason why they went and created the structure that they did to try to get those values enshrined in a constitution is because they wanted to make sure that the government operated with a proper understanding of human nature. You would never create government power and just hope people do the right thing. They expected people to not do the right thing. So when you're talking about AI, these are massive companies. In some respects, they have more power than governments in certain avenues of this. But there is nothing new about human nature. The founders would not have conceived of any of these social media, chat bots, none of that. But at the same time, human nature being what it is, you're going to have the same dangers of power being abused. It's just in a different sphere.
So in some of the kind of Bill of Rights to protect people from how AI could be used make a lot of sense. So give me a couple examples.
So a couple of the examples are disclosure requirements. For example, there's a lot of law firms that use AI to do a lot of underwriting, do a lot of contract writing. So if you use AI, you have to disclose that AI was used to write some of these contracts.
Love it. I think what it seems like he's getting at is like people have a right to know whether they are interacting in some sort of substantial way with AI and not a human being. And I think hiding that from people is really the core problem here.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think at this point, it's such a new thing. Most people want the human interaction. I don't think people have a broad trust that robots are going to take into consideration all the gray area of being a human in a lot of these industries. So I think that the disclosure, just making sure people know that they're working with an AI, reading AI writing, or decisions are being made by AI, I think is just good business practice. Yeah. Well, this also goes on to kind of talk about, repercussions of misusing AI, misrepresenting things, misinformation, and also holding people accountable for using AI as like slanderous material.
Yeah. And, if you're going to put out some video and you label it AI, I don't care. Make whatever crazy video you want. But I've gotten in the practice of if somebody puts out something that's obviously AI, or that I find out to be AI and it hasn't labeled, I mute that person, I block that person, I remove them in any way that I can, and it is that element for companies too. You should want to be transparent because there's a trust factor. And once you break that trust, like, oh, that's AI, I'm done with you, right? So I think this is all good and a good thing to be thinking about. All right. So in Florida, I think it's the Attorney General, right? Or is it your CFO?
It is our CFO.
CFO, my apologies. Your CFO is trying to work on ways basically to eliminate any existing financial incentives for people to be in the state illegally, such as?
Yeah, so not just incentives, but like implications as well. Mm-hmm. So for example, one of them would be workers' comp. The current state statute allows illegal immigrants to collect workers' comp if they are injured on a job, even if they are hired under the table, hired illegally.
Legislation proposed will remove illegal aliens as covered employees from the workers' compensation definitions in statutes. Florida statute actually says that if you are an illegal immigrant and you are working here in the state of Florida and you get hurt, you're awarded workers' compensation. You can file a claim. We don't think that's right. We think that that needs to be removed from Florida statute.
There also should be some punishment for the employer, though, right? Because they're hiring someone knowing if they get hurt, there's not workers' comp for them. So I think, yes, it's about disincentivizing illegals from working here because there's no protections for them, unlike Washington, where we'd probably, give them 10 years unemployment benefits and paid leave. So that makes sense. Another one, and I'm kind of surprised some of this exists in Florida law. So one of the other ones has to do with limiting even non-government entities helping illegals, for example, buy a home, right?
Yeah, very specifically down payment assistance programs or secondary mortgage assistance programs. Apparently there has been ways, not just in Florida. I think Florida uses what happens in other states very much as like a home ground for being like, we don't want to do this or we want to be more like this. So he referenced a couple states that allow this. So I don't think it is specifically something that can be done in Florida, but there's no laws that prohibit it. So I think he's just getting a jump on it.
Our housing agencies don't do that, but there is nothing on the books in terms of a law that prohibits that. So our legislation will ban illegal aliens from benefiting from any down payment assistance programs or silent second home mortgages, whether it is done by a government agency, a quasi-government agency, or an NGO. Because some of these nonprofits will go out and they will create these programs specifically to go out and target illegal immigrants for down payment so they can purchase homes.
And I agree that even if it's an NGO, I'm not super into sort of government overreach, but you're basically helping to harbor an illegal. You're helping to harbor them and anchor them here with a new house. Do your donors know that's what the money is being used for? And I'm sure in Washington state, through some of our programs like the Community Reinvestment Program, I guarantee some of that money has gone to illegals because here they're treated no differently. All right, let's do a fun one. Gator wrangling is a pretty common thing in Florida, but it took, a dozen police officers to wrangle this massive gator?
Huge gator. He's like 14 feet long, 600 pounds. He just kind of wandered into somebody's yard and, nobody wants to open their door and see a giant gator. So they call in gator trappers who usually call in police for backup. And it took quite a few of them to load this thing up into the back of a truck and move it to a gator farm.
We haven't done one of these in a while. I just think it's fun occasionally. And Seattle police officers would be forced to first read the gator its Miranda rights. And then they would have to call PETA and have PETA observers be there to make sure that the gator is handled with care. And then they'd have to read stolen land. We are on stolen land, and then they'd have to return it to stolen land and also read the stolen land acknowledgement. It would be quite an ordeal here.
No, here it's just a normal Tuesday business for our police officers to hoist a gator into the back of a truck and drive it away.
Love it. Love it. All right, Miranda, thank you so much.
Have a good week.
It's not even controversial anymore.
People know in Florida their freedoms are going to be respected.